legally. That's a lie. I'm gonna play a video game, chat. You imagine that? Did you know you can buy the Last of Us Part 2 remaster for like $15 if you have the original version? Now that's crazy. So I've done that because I want to play that roguelike mode or whatever that we were looking at last night. And it's installing right now. Probably slowly that we're streaming, huh? But he also just recorded part of this Devilman thing. Where's Audacity? Here it is. Look, 17 minutes. It's like probably not even half the video. But also that'll be cut down to at least 10 minutes, you would have to imagine. I mean, we can make it full screen now. Let's audio edit on stream. Remember the one time I did that? That was pretty fun. First of all, you want to start by getting a silent piece. Now, that wasn't so silent. That went up to the 48. Now, that went even louder. See, that was pretty silent. So, I don't even know if this is actually how you do it, but you want to go noise reduction. You want to get noise profile from that thing. Then you want to apply said noise profile to the whole fucking thing. Noise reduction, okay. Now, this will take generally 20 to 30 seconds. Now, in that time, you bloviate about streaming nonsense. Cunnilingus says, yo, my goodness gracious me. Hold on, let me get up OBS to see if that's a first-time chatter. Oh my god, it is. I wonder if this is a random young man who has just found his way into stream, or if this is a fan. Do I still have those? We can get rid of that beginning bit now. And now you want to normalize it, chat, you see? So you want to go over to normalize. It's here somewhere. It's in alphabetical order. You would think I would know. Now we want to normalize everything. Now we want to compress everything. Now also when you finish editing everything, you kind of want to do these last two steps again. But I don't know, you can determine whether or not it looks good. I honestly am not too happy with the narration of what I did. I wrote this, if we bring this up. How the fuck is this goddamn fucking thing? Prescription versus description. What a crazy title, huh? But how I wrote this intro was supposed to be very, like, wacky and clever and funny. My narration style and mood did not reflect that just now. So the possibility of me re-recording this is not impossible. I think I did it in a more somber way, which might not be terrible. It was just not the intended manner of it when I was scripting it originally. So it's basically, this video is like me recapping the ending of Devilman in sort of a funny way. Then me going, what does that mean? And then me telling you two different interpretations of what that could mean. And then video end. But anyway, we did the recap and the what are we doing here thing. And now we have to actually get into the substance of it, which is a little bit scripted here. There's notes for the whole thing too. And then I got some notes. Because this video has been a video idea for like 3 or 4 years. So there's some old notes at the bottom there from ages ago that I'll rekindle. Or not rekindle, but reevaluate once I think I've finished the script and see if I want to add them in anywhere. Cunnilingus says fan. That's incredible. Are you a Berserk fan? Because that's what this disgusting stream is about. Oh my god, should I buy this fucking stupid game that everybody's talking about, chat? And then fucking stupid Destiny plays it on stream now too. So I'm like, oh, even more so. And it's another little roguelike game, right? Where you can play a little game for like 2 minutes and then be done. I like that. I like short. You know what I don't like? $20. I thought it was going to be free or something. Balatro. We'll see. I'll play this fucking Last of Us game. There's also other, like, I ain't doxing shit, right? If I go to my library, there's not much in here. You can see my disgusting amount of time on this piece of shit game. Literally, how is that possible? But I don't have a lot of games on here. How long did I play this one for? Nearly 10 hours, you know. Bloons Tower Defense 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think it's just 1, 2, and 3. You know, they're a little fun. I also just downloaded Parkitect and before I left and didn't play it. The same with Planet Coaster. 10 minutes, it says. Project Zomboid I tried and didn't like, so there's that. Return of Obra Dinn we finished, you know, no biggie. I don't know how it says 16 hours, but it does. Rogue Tower, we loved Rogue Tower for a little bit. See, nearly 100 hours. I would play some more Rogue Tower. They Are Billions, we love They Are Billions. Nearly 50 hours on that one. I don't know if this computer can run these games because, again, all of these I was playing on my original one. This has to have more than 100. Oh, 150 hours on the original Roller Coaster Tycoon. Roller Coaster Tycoon's kind of fun, huh? They've all got a decent amount. I was going to try and play through them all, but, you know, we didn't. So Anyway, that's my fucking Steam library for nobody that asked. Oh, and I just exited it when I was supposed to keep that thingy up. So yesterday on stream, I still haven't created my VODs channel. We'll be doing that soon. We've got these 2 videos to finish. We got the power scaling one and the masked man one, and I kind of want to get through them. We've also got limited battery because I did just spend a little bit of time recording. So I'm going to play Last of Us video game. I might play that fucking card game, and I'm probably going to watch this movie today. See, I looked up how to get it legally first, and then whenever it says rental, I say kill yourself, and I fucking illegally get it, you know? We love it. We love it. Anyway, let's see. Let's see where we're up to in this whole Masked Man video.
It does pertain to Jill, and it will pertain to her even more as it goes on, but also because this arc will only get more disturbing, evil, and explicit from here on out.
He says pertains a lot in this video, huh? Let's try
Jill is presented as a very morally good and caring individual, standing up to her father when he mentions he wants to get more to drink, and even going out of her way to return some kindness to Guts by returning the cloak, and even bringing a basket of food. Puck advised her to let him sleep since he had just now gotten sleep, and something worth noting is that Jill also seemed to have not been able to sleep last night given what I had talked about earlier, and yet she has no issue falling.
It's very cute. We love Jill. Okay, I love when YouTube just crashes and goes back to like 10 seconds.
Which last night, given what I had talked about earlier, and yet she has no issue falling asleep next to Guts, which I find interesting and I think could very well be what we end up seeing more of, and that's Jill's ability to see a person's character. She serves as a bit of a moral compass in this arc in the way that Puck usually does, although in a slightly different manner, and she isn't perfect in that sense either, but if not very capable of perceiving intentions in the very least. This is a giant man carrying a brick of iron, but she doesn't seem to sense the maliciousness from him that she had been clearly exposed to often from other adults. She is more at peace with this stranger than in her own home, which should be very indicative once again of just how long this terrible lifestyle has been going on. Puck's presence and Guts saving her life could be a big factor in all of that, granted, but either way, what's just as, if not more important, is how Guts reacts to all of this. He's at a stage where he doesn't do all that well with receiving kindness, but it's him taking notice of the bruising on Jill's face and hands that not only reminds him of his own past, but also that aspect of Guts that deep down isn't heartless. He isn't without humanity, no matter how dark his road gets. Still, he has an objective to carry out, a revenge-driven quest that requires more information on these quote-unquote elves, and Jill reveals that they have been causing problems for a few years, killing livestock, and more importantly, they eat people and steal children. Hence the lost children from a literal sense. At that moment, the elves show up to Jill's village, and we get the confirmation that these are what we think they are, apostles. More specifically, pseudo-apostles once we learn about them, but here's where we get one of the many iconic faces in this arc. The brutality of these elves is put on display as they rip through the town like mini Tasmanian devils, and once more we get to see how much of a scumbag Jill's father is. A little boy runs out to the streets and Guts tells him to get down, and uses the Dragon Slayer like a fly swatter, crushing the demonic elves with a smile on his face. The following chapter, we get to see more of these elves and their bug-like appearance up close, while Guts uses that kid he just saved as bait to kill more of them. It's a bit odd to see Guts in this stage in retrospect, where his character is solely fueled and given purpose through revenge, and I do think he has a soft spot for the innocent, but in the heat of battle, his worst qualities do come out. He isn't stupid by any means, and I'm sure the information about how they don't kill but kidnap children is what gave him the idea. He even says, quote, or else do you want to go with these things? As well as you could argue the kid was already in danger, so to hell with it. I'm getting into this since this might seem a bit contradictory at first to how before this he told Jill not to come near him during the nighttime for her safety, and so questionable methods is always going to be associated with Guts. However, if the kid were to legit be in harm's way, Guts would be the type to throw himself out there to protect the child. In fact, his decision to use the boy as bait is confronted by the village people, and he calls them out for not unlocking their doors in self-preservation. Guts, with his non-chivalrous demeanor and his brutal honesty, is a very important part to his character that will serve as a big piece into what the message of this arc is, and what Guts ends up representing to Jill. But before the villagers can get fully mad at Guts and then he's forced to...
I think what Miller said last night is turning out to be true, everybody. It seems like this is about to be recap-heavy analysis. Now, we are pausing to give a little bits of analysis here and there, so we can respect that at least. But it does seem like it's a little bit of our... This is what happened. This is interesting in Guts' character. But it's also the very surface-level analysis of, like, what is communicated. Not really a grand new thing to say about some stuff, but you know, some videos like this, well, I'm sure I've made videos like this. I'm trying to remember what the fuck, how my Syrup Village video was structured. That would be fascinating to go back and see. Fuck it. Be impulsive, chat. That's the message of today's stream. Plus, I just let that video play for like 3 minutes and didn't say shit, so. Rain Ambulance and Sinnoh. Hold on. The first chapter. Uh-oh. Vagabond. We should read Vagabond or something, chat. What is this? Good for You is an original song which doesn't plagiarize at all. I don't know what that means. What was I looking up? Syrup Village Best Arc. It came up with Kyle. Cringe. We don't like that guy. Best Arc. Let's see if this comes up. We are signed in. No, it came up second. The narration is probably terrible in this video, huh? I'm probably about to cringe real hard. Oh my god, first I have to give myself some money. Seth, the program reviews the Syrup Village arc in one place.
Shonen lend themselves well to discussion self-evidently.
Self-evidently. That's pretty funny, bro. What do we say about... Oh my god, this was 3 years
In character, while the other crewmates either deal with a lesser villain or are written out through other events. Obviously, this doesn't directly apply to everything in the East Blue Saga, but this is the overall structure for introducing new crewmates in One Piece. And it works effectively as Syrup Village is all about Usopp, Luffy, and Captain Kuro, and their influence on what goes on around them. Hence why they're the 3 pillars of what make this arc great, and therefore the 3 main topics of discussion in this video. Now, Usopp is our cowardly character in One Piece. He's a liar. Not only does he take after Pinocchio, fiction's most notorious liar aesthetically with the long nose, but this story arc in Syrup Village is a take on the old fable, The Boy Who Cried Wolf, that I'm sure you're familiar with. Telling lies is something that's obviously going to be thematically explored.
Is it? Wow.
Usopp likes to joke about pirates coming to attack the village every morning to prank the villagers, but then some ruffian pirates do actually end up coming, and of course no one believes him when his warnings need to be taken seriously. But Usopp is not like Luffy and Zoro, the other male members of the crew, who fit in with the shonen action world One Piece has developed up until this point. He's just some kid dicking around on a remote village island, and therefore the complication of an invading pirate force is a big one for him to face alone. Luckily, by this point he's already won over the Straw Hats, who are willing to lend him a helping hand. Usopp not being like Zoro and Luffy, boys who would just attack the invading pirates without question to protect something they value, makes him an interesting addition to the One Piece cast. Usopp's character
Great guy.
serves a different purpose. Not everybody needs to be, nor should they be, an awesome, fearsome fighter like Luffy, Zoro, and eventually Sanji. One Piece would get repetitive.
Oh, quit fucking
lagging.
lagging.
And a liar. It's like getting mad at Zoro for getting lost all the time, or getting mad at Sanji for his constant flirting and womanizing. You've missed the joke, and not only have you missed the joke, you're so stupid you've missed the point in a shonen action series.
True.
After all, that's the thing about points, people usually don't get them. Usopp is just a kid who's crafty, and this is valuable to the writing dynamic of the group because it gives Oda more personalities to work with when constructing his story. But nonetheless, Usopp's general attitude and lying nature tends to rub people the wrong way initially, and this is a major purported reason people give for not liking Syrup Village.
Okay, this is a recap. We like this.
They'd say. Now, contemporarily, from what I understand, nearly every One Piece fan loves Usopp. Obviously, he changes and develops as the series progresses, and does some cool things to better win over a certain section of the One Piece fanbase who want him to be just another fighting boy. But Syrup Village was not enough to win some people over regarding Usopp, it seems. People often say to others reading One Piece to just wait, Usopp eventually gets good, don't worry. Which is something that One Piece fans usually say about the series in general to people starting it too. Just wait, it gets really good. But I'm quickly learning that One Piece fans are absolute cowards. Usopp and One Piece are great immediately if you're not a blithering fucking idiot. I liked Usopp immediately, and on this recent reread, I liked One Piece immediately. Don't sell out Syrup Village, Usopp, or One Piece in general to idiots who don't
Okay, now we're making fun of people for not standing up for One Piece. This is good. This is not recap.
at the beginning. Saying Usopp is annoying is like saying Asuka is annoying and leaving it at that. The likability and interest in these characters comes from why these characters are like that. Asuka is bratty and
Weird
but finding out why she is
reference
the way
to
she is, and then
Evangelion.
understanding that makes her likable, sympathetic, and relatable. She doesn't want to rely on other people and views her self-worth through being an Ava pilot. This leads to the bratty, arrogant personality she's developed to handle life
I really should have left it black over here.
and other people. And that's relatable to a lot of people, and realizing this is where the initially annoying personality came from changes the way you perceive her character. Usopp is just like this. Now, I like both characters in their annoying stages already, but this is how I understand most people's experiences with these characters to be. Usopp is a cowardly liar, and like Asuka's arrogance and brattiness, this could rub people the wrong way initially, but learning why he's like this makes him likable. We meet the kids who are members of the Usopp Pirates, and they look up to Usopp not only because he's bigger than them, but because they respect and understand him. They later explain that they like him for different reasons, because he's a meddler, because he's bossy, and because he's boastful. But Usopp is then informed by one of the kids that actual pirates are in fact
is this
cunning.
recap?
Interestingly, Usopp's first instinct is to run away, but just as being true to himself is a core idea behind Usopp's character, being a coward is also. Repeatedly in this arc and throughout the series, Usopp tries to initially run away, but part of what makes Usopp so brave inherently is his predisposition to run away. It goes back to the adage that somebody can only be truly brave when they're scared. Zoro and Luffy are larger than life. They can go against anyone with confidence in their own abilities. They are not inherently relatable to kids or just people in general. They are role models to be admired and to aspire to be like. Usopp is just a kid. He doesn't have any superpowers and he isn't a master swordsman. He uses a slingshot and deception and sheer will. He's the relatable Straw Hat to most of the audience. Most of the audience is delusional and they think they like Luffy and Zoro when secretly
Alright, this is the most basic Usopp point anybody's ever made.
without communication take out Captain Morgan and Helmeppo in Romance Dawn. They barely know each other at that point, but there's something intrinsic about their bond. That's what's happening here with Usopp. That moment is even mirrored in the climax of this arc where Zoro cuts down a tree branch that was in Usopp's field of vision, preventing him from landing the final blow on Django. There's something special about these Straw Hats. We aren't done with these first interactions either yet, as they establish key characteristics of Usopp's character as well. Usopp gets mad when Luffy thinks his act is funny and sees through it. And because Usopp, despite it seemingly being a contradiction, is a very proud man, he takes offense to this. Usopp, as we've been over and as will become more evident later in this arc, is willing to protect what matters to him above everything. And his pride as a brave warrior of the sea, which will become
Okay, I don't think this is recap. How do you just come up with that? Oh my god, it's an hour long. Oh my god, I can't deal with this because it's actually raining outside. Usopp is still the worst Straw Hat like decades later. Oh my god, Heath is just being crazy for real, for real. But anyway, there's a way to do it, I guess. I just proved it. Because I'm trying to think, like, oh, we got Chat, what the fuck are we doing here? We got them all up over here. No, not there, you stupid motherfucker. Let's look at this. There's some recap in this one, but then it's all about points. That would be pretty recappy. Now, these are sort of like these Masked Man ones where it's very recappy, but there's lots to say, I think. So I think I'm trying to not be a hypocrite here, chat. This is my mental exercise. These ones are like, oh, you just got to have more analysis than a recap. And that's probably going to be the case with this. This would be all analysis, I think. Visceral violence and stakes, well, that would be all analysis. Now, remember, analysis doesn't exist, and when I'm saying this, I'm just being lazy. Pitching would be completely of your own. These would all just be analysis. This would be analysis. This would be analysis. This would be analysis. This would be a very big mix, but it's also inherently opinion-based. The importance of Berserk structure would be very little recap. This one would be interesting. This one would also be interesting. I feel like none of these are just recappy nonsense. The appeal of Chainsaw Man certainly ain't recappy. Core themes, no. That one could be. So yeah, I think I'm safe and I'm not a loser and a bitch. Besides the heart of Attack on Titan or whatever.
Use Jill as a fake hostage to escape since he had been poisoned by Rosine. Well, yeah, that. Rosine shows up at the village with more elves. Puck reveals they are human children, and once Rosine poisons Guts with Rosine, venting to Jill. But before the villager, a very important part to his character that will serve as a big piece into what the message of this arc is and what Guts ends up representing to Jill. But before the villagers can get fully mad at Guts and then he's forced to use Jill as a fake hostage to escape.
Tipsy Hugo, early we are, yo. We are early a little bit. I remember Tipsy, right? I didn't have to check that he was on a first-time chatter. But yes, we are here relatively early. It's a Sunday, so there is opportunity here to stream early. But also only our third stream in like a month and a bit, so. But anyway, we're reacting to Masked Man videos. Can you believe that? He's good now, kinda.
Poisoned by Rosine. Well, yeah, that. Rosine shows up at the village with more elves. Puck reveals they are human children, and once Rosine poisons Guts with her dust and goes in for the kill, she is stopped by Jill, who recognizes her after Rosine refers to Puck as Peacock. In the next chapter, after Guts apologizes for using her as a hostage, she clarifies that she believes the Queen Elf is indeed Rosine, her old friend that went missing a few years ago. When Guts goes to leave after Rosine, we get the next piece of internal dialogue. He is going. Is this it then? The end? Will it begin again, the way things always are there? Nothing changes. Nothing ever happens. Like it always has been, that's the way things are. That's. And then it cuts off there. Clearly, Jill is sick and tired of what her life in that village has to offer, and who can blame her?
Fucking Berserk always being through, what do you call it? Implication.
Up with the reality that seems to never change no matter what happens and no matter how much time passes. It's like a gray sky that just seems to never go away. So in order to avoid going back to that reality, she follows after Guts hoping for something. Anything that isn't that. Meanwhile, Guts is ambushed by the demon fetus and spirits of burning children.
The demon fetus. What do we usually call it? Do we call it that? I think so. I usually say fetus, right? But maybe it's not demon?
Of a Berserk live action for many reasons, but for this scene in particular, if we were to do a Berserk
live action, hold on, where'd this point come from?
Anything that isn't that. Meanwhile, Guts is ambushed by the demon fetus and spirits of burning children. I hate the idea of a Berserk live action for many reasons, but for this scene in particular, if we were to do a Berserk live action, can we get Joe Rogan and just have him recreate how to properly throw an elbow? Chapter 102, we get to see the beginning of Guts
Okay.
slowly losing
Oh, he wants to elbow the demon fetus? Is that the joke there?
it and giving into his urges more and more. Although that was happening a bit before, it's pretty bad now, and it will only get worse. And despite the warnings Puck gives her about regretting the choice of following Guts, she says she's come too far, only to stumble upon the sight of Guts going mad. A sadistic smile on his face as he kills these spirits and almost cuts Jill down, but his restraint kicks in. Even throwing himself off a ledge in order to protect her once again shows that his humanity is there, but that is at risk of deteriorating to the point of no return. His willpower has been supernatural, but he is only human, as is made evident when he can't move after sustaining damage from such a height. And while Jill uses Puck dust to heal him, she recounts the tale of Peacock. Long ago in a village, there was a boy named Peacock, with pointed ears and red eyes. His parents loved him very much, but he was always bullied by the village children because of his eyes and ears. They called him Red-Eyed Peacock and Pointy-Eared Peacock. Peacock thought, this isn't my home. These people aren't my real parents, because neither Peacock's father nor mother, nor even one person in the whole village had red eyes or pointed ears the way he did. One night, Peacock snuck out of his house without his parents knowing. He went to find his own real parents and his own real world in which to live. He made his way alone into the forest where elves were said to live, where grown-ups said never to go. And Peacock found them. They had red eyes and pointed ears. Certainly, they were the same as him. But this is what they said to the overjoyed Peacock. You're one of us. No, not true. You haven't wings to ride upon the wind like we do. Seeing Peacock's confusion, one of them informed him of something. Long ago, a human man and woman brought a baby here who was close to death from illness. We have broken the law of our village and entered this forest to save this child. This child is our life. Please, somehow save him. The man and the woman pleaded desperately. They granted the request using magic on the baby. The baby's life was saved, but in exchange for his appearance was altered to half resemble the elves. Even so, the man and woman cried tears of joy. It only mattered that their child lived. When Peacock heard this, he ran off in great haste. With tears in his eyes, he went back swiftly the way he'd come. But when Peacock returned to his house, it was all too late. For some strange reason, even though he'd only been in the forest for a few moments, in the village, 100 years had passed. On top of a small hill between the village where he no longer knew a single person, and the elf forest where no human was allowed to live, Peacock the outcast cried and cried, his red eyes swollen even redder. This is a grim fairy tale that Rosine, as Jill notes, loved dearly, relating to the feeling of an unwanted outcast. Chapter 103, we get more on Rosine before her disappearance, and how she often participated in activities to keep her away from her home. As a result of a household like Jill's, that could have possibly been even worse. Jill points out not only the physical abuse, but what possibly bothered Rosine deep down in the most, and what I think to be the reason Rosine resonated heavily with the Peacock story is because of her mother being taken advantage of when the village was raided, and the father never accepting her, questioning if she was his child. As Jill states, her parents fought often, and she was always the
again, Berserk and implication, etc. It is interesting the different ways you can interpret the story, because I only vaguely remember all this. Like, I remembered that there was a story. I remember it tied into Rosine, because obviously it sounds like Rosine trying to recreate that fantasy thing. It's also obviously Guts and Jill, because Jill is now trying to run away. And also Guts is running away, and if he continues to run away, it's like everything that he's left behind could be gone, which is Casca is not there when he gets back and he has to go save her, etc. The Berserk did this a few times, and I remember it confused me both times, I think, initially, and I just never really thought about it that much. I think the Fantasia opening thing with the other fairy was another thing, where I always thought it was like cute and stuff, but I didn't really get it. And then we watched a video the other day. I can't remember if this was on stream or not. Actually, I think it was in the video I referenced watching on stream about the problematic and the some European chick video response by that one dude that I forget the name of now, where he tied it into the point of Fantasia or whatever, and tied it into the end of Fantasia, which is Griffith showing up and stuff. Oh my god, I'm getting a phone call that I'm not going to take, but I have to pick up because otherwise it'll vibrate near where the microphone is.
The reason.
But anyway, I'd have to reread it to figure it out, or Masked Man is going to give his interpretation here, but I wonder if it's just Lamau Rosine or if it's taking to these different layers.
Was his child. As Jill states, her parents fought often, and she was always the reason. Not only do I think this could have caused her to relate to the outcast label that Peacock wore, but unlike Peacock, she could very well desire the one thing Peacock had, but didn't appreciate, the love and acceptance of his parents. Jill also notes that Rosine owned many strange things, and the strangest being what we know to be a Beylit, which Puck points out, and Guts tells Jill about the reality of what happened to Rosine, and the reason her parents disappeared after going out to look for her. This is where the conflict for Jill begins, and where the message of the arc starts to unfold. Guts' response to the fairy tale, and what he will represent to Jill, is said with this moment of dialogue from Guts that will be driven home at the end of the arc. Funny that you mentioned fairy tales. It's just like Peacock's eyes and ears. You gotta have collateral for stuff like that. They require a sacrifice. They tell you to present what's most important to you in return for power. A few days later, her parents vanished, you said. Rosine offered them up, to have her own wish granted. Her own parents.
Tipsy says, off topic slightly, I do love when stories have little stories within the stories to tell certain implications and themes. It's the small stuff. For me, similar to Monster. Yeah, I do like it as well. Black Sails would do it in monologues. I feel like live action shit can get away with doing it in monologues a lot, where it'll just be like, and then Odysseus, he had a fucking shovel or something, but then, no, he had an oar, but then he went so far inland that he thought it was a shovel, and it's like about Flint, obviously, but you can apply it to a bunch of other characters, because stories like that, and especially simple ones like that, usually have universal themes that are relative to, like, struggle or something, and you can be like, oh man, everybody struggles just like that. Or like this one is about running away, right? Which is pretty evident in all things. I feel like you can apply it to most failures in your life or near things. I'm sure there's other examples. I feel like the Naruto Sai introduction arc does that kind of.
Parents' lives as sacrifices. Yeah. Let's put an end to this. This ain't some kid's fairy tale like Peacock. It's a gruesome, grown-up fairy tale. If you stick your neck out any further, next time I'm not stopping my sword. This is no place for some kid who snuck off from a loser father and powerless mother to go wandering around in. You're a nuisance. Kids have their own fairy tales. You want to escape? Stick to Peacock. What Guts is saying here directly contrasts the story of Peacock and Rosine's attempt to make that a reality, and is what Jill needs to hear. Him saying he won't stop his sword next time is a literal threat, yes, but going along with how Puck earlier said she might regret sticking around, I think what Guts said can also be referring to the truth. Him not stopping his sword in a figurative sense is him not stopping the crushing weight of reality from robbing Jill of whatever innocence she has left. A dark and bleak reality that you cannot change or escape from. Hence, if you want to escape, stick to Peacock. There's no escaping like in a children's fairy tale, which Rosine made a reality by sacrificing her parents. With Guts, there's only reality, there's only the harsh truth. Something Jill was hoping she could leave behind by following this black swordsman. Shortly after, Guts leaves and Rosine shows up, and her words, after taking on a more human appearance in the face, puts on a friendly demeanor and tells Jill exactly what she wants to.
It is funny how, I guess you can call Berserk childish in its themes a little bit here, where the point of the Jill stuff is that, oh, you have to, like, it's sort of like a personal responsibility, what do you call it, existentialism thing, where it's like, no, Guts isn't going to save you, you've got to save you, or make choices to make your life better, because... And the message is supposed to be, well, in real life, dear reader, there's not a Guts that's going to come along and solve all your problems, you have to actually action it. And then I think about something like Mad Men, where at least Don Draper's thematic point sometimes is that running away is good, and his keep moving forward speech is not like Aaron's, where it's like, keep going. Though I guess it is kind of like Aaron's. It's not like the persistence one. Though it slightly is like a bastardized, bad interpretation of persistence, rather. Or when he says to Peggy, like, just do whatever they want and get out of here. This never happened. It'll shock you how much this never happened. Where it sort of is like a... Running away is not a bad thing, and you'll acclimate to it very quickly, and it's a chance to be happy, just get out. That theme applied to here would have Jill leave with Guts. And, like, this is your chance to get away from a shitty situation. The world will present you with shitty situations. It's your duty to get out of them, even by running away. Thematic differences like that are always a little cute to compare, I guess. That might be an interesting type of video to make, where it's like, let's look at love as a theme in a bunch of things, and how it's sort of bastardized by, like, The Last of Us Part 2 and Attack on Titan, and how it's idealized in, like, some more kid-friendly type shows. Or even Berserk. That stuff would be interesting as an overview.
To here, she will take her to Misty Valley, a place where she can play and have fun all the time, even after the sun goes
Love in media, and it could have like a Nikki Jakey thumbnail
down. And after another failed murder attempt by Guts, she flies away with Jill, showing her the beautiful
view at the end.
View from the sky. And as Jill remarks, her village seems so small that she can't see it anymore. The place of her suffering, her problems. Up in the sky, her problems seem so small. Rosine remarks how she can fly all she wants to her heart's content if she becomes one of them. If Guts represents the ugly truth of reality, then Rosine represents the fairy tale lie that Jill has been looking for, the means to run away from her problems forever. This is the origin of the moral conflict within Jill that will soon reach a terrifying climax, but for now she will see if this fairy tale is
Rosine in here as she's sort of the failed Jill, etc., etc.
too good to be true. Chapters 105 through 108 is Guts dealing with the Guardians of the Forest, some of which are the bandits from the beginning that have now been transformed, in the prototype manga version of the Ornstein and Smough fight. Of the Forest, some of which are the bandits from the beginning that have now been transformed, and the prototype manga version of the Ornstein and Smough fight. The Holy Knights stop by Jill's town saying they are in search of the Black Swordsman, given how they believe he might have something to do with their religion, and Jill's shitty father in need of battle decides to tag along in search. Chapter 108, however, continues with Puck entering Misty Valley, and he sees the false elves playing as he can't help himself but join them in their game of catch, it seems. They are making this such a beautiful place, and still portraying the childlike and innocent nature of these killer elves at times is what makes what happens after so disturbing. The first sign is when they hand Puck the ball, which turns out to be a human eyeball. Rosine arrives with Jill, and her first impression is that this is paradise, which again, considering how she has always been hurt by grown-ups, a place where there are no grown-ups, therefore in her mind no evil, seems like the place to be. Chapter 109 is one of the most haunting chapters, not just in the arc, but in all of Berserk, and the reason
oh my god, it's the adult attack thing, he's gonna bring it up like it's actually a big deal.
And adapted into an anime. Jill starts to question things, still needing more time. She thinks that possibly what they do isn't so bad. If elves eat humans the same way humans eat animals. She at first turns to Puck asking him what she should do, and he immediately points out these elves are monsters, but it's clear in Jill's mind as she recollects her memories that they can't be bigger monsters than the one she knows back home. I can't find it. For me, I can't find anything more enjoyable than those little ones. Being hungry and cold, worrying about the weather every day, afraid of bandits, afraid of war, from now on, forever and ever. Puck is the ultimate empath and feels her fear, and tries to point out the good things she has in life like a mother, and offers an optimistic look on the future. But Jill, while sitting in what she believes to be paradise, looks at her future with heavy pessimism. One could say realistic pessimism, honestly, that hits most people once they start to grow older, lamenting how she will most likely turn out like one of her parents, either passively neglectful or abusive. But then the fairy tale and those who inhabit it show its true nature. The little fake elves line up and take formations as if they're about to play war, a fun little game that turns out to be real, as they savagely pierce into one another and murder each other with a horrifying grin on their face, as they laugh and dance, holding up the mutilated bodies of their friends. They dance. And then Jill remarks, only humans can enjoy killing like that. Only humans or else. And then Puck says monsters. One of the elves is being chased and then is chased down, and it cries out, adult attack, adult attack. Witnessing this is traumatic enough, but witnessing this as a victim of such an atrocity like Jill is warrants her reaction of pure shock and vomit. This is the reality of the fairy tale, the things Guts witnessed firsthand with someone who tried to escape their reality. There are no elves, and this is no paradise. These are humans that have abandoned their humanity to live in a place where they are given absolute freedom. And absolute freedom in the hands of what is or what once was human is utter chaos. They are free from the adults, free from the problems, but are also free of any remorse or restriction on their behavior. This paradise is no better than the cruel, harsh world that exists. Chapter 110, Jill running away with Puck stumbles into the nesting ground where the children that are kidnapped are turned into elves. Rosine shows up trying to preserve the fairy tale, saying they were just playing war. Ah yes, the good old memories. Back when me and my friends at recess would viciously butcher each other before 4th grade English. She says they were just playing war, and if she returns home, she will not only have to suffer with real war, but also with all the other things Jill has been trying to escape from. Before she can fully accept and give in, she's shaken out of it by the horrifying image of a broken egg, and in comes Guts, ready to burn the fairy tale to the ground. At the end of the chapter, we get another piece from Jill's perspective, and that in contrast of Rosine and the elves versus Guts in the fire. Why for an instant, swaying inside the blaze, he was the one who looked more like a terrifying monster to me. Guts slowly becoming more monstrous throughout this fight is one of the most memorable things for those who read it. His anger and violence, the desire to destroy his target no matter the cost on full display. Once again having a sadistic smile when he realizes he can run into the fire to kill the elves and put it out by using the insides of the cocoon. The shot of Guts biting into the intestine is so far removed from the man that gave his cloak to Jill, even Rosine remarks if he is even human. Here I want to finish Mira's quote about writing this similar to the Black Swordsman arc, but with a different intention regarding Guts and his opposition, the quote from earlier back in 2017. The same is true in respect that in the flashback scene, the monster's humanity emerges, and when he...
I don't like Berserk too much, but man, these panels are great. This Lost Children is a very particular point in the series, especially for art, I think. I guess conviction generally, where the sort of... towards the end of the Golden Age, especially with the Eclipse imagery stuff, it really gets so good. That style is very... It's not the style of later Berserk, though I really do like the style of later Berserk too. But it is just so particular and so good.
He defeats her. Guts is the one who looks like a monster. It couldn't be exactly the same though, so I featured Rosine, the oddball apostle. It's fascinating how we have one character we just spent an entire arc becoming familiar with and growing sympathetic towards, and yet
Wait, I kind of missed the point.
And when he defeats her, Guts is the one who...
The same is true in respect that the flashback scene, the monster's humanity emerges, and we see, and when he defeats her, Guts is the one who looks like a monster. It's exactly the same.
Who looks like a monster. It couldn't be exactly the same though, so I featured Rosine, the oddball apostle. It's fascinating how we have one character we just spent an entire arc becoming familiar with and growing sympathetic towards, and yet visually Miura shows him as a monster, in contrast to Rosine from Jill's perspective. Rosine having that fairy tale-like appearance, and Guts being the ugly reality, a monster in a different sense that grows more fierce when faced with danger. A forest ghost. Those were the words that went through my mind when I first saw him, lit by that lightning flash, faced with danger. A forest ghost. Those were the words that went through my mind when I first saw him, lit by that lightning flash. But he, the man in front of me right now, is nothing so gentle as that. The fight continues and Rosine transforms, revealing her true self, pointing out how everything is too late to save because of the fire, but it doesn't matter because she can make a new one. Once again, she can escape, but first she needs to punish the one who destroyed her paradise. Chapter 113 is more of the fight now ramping up in intensity.
It's sort of a hypocrisy in the fact that she could fly anywhere, but she did stay near the village.
Is at her fastest and deadliest. There isn't much for me to say about this chapter other than once again the lengths Guts is willing to put himself through to kill an apostle. And I'll throw this out there because why not, but even though I think Mira's best art is in the Millennium Falcon, style-wise I have a soft spot for this arc and conviction. When Guts shoots his arm cannon through Rosine, the shot after with them falling out of the sky is one of the many things with this fight I need to see animated. Chapter 114 titled The Space Between...
He's really putting this anime shit home.
Man, Guts questions the reason for his failure, the thing holding him back, questioning if it's her childlike appearance or Jill's story that has caused him to show restraint. The temptation to abandon his humanity, or at least put it aside for a moment, overtakes Guts. Once again, we get an iconic shot of Guts giving in. Black it out. One more time. I'll take my urge to kill and black everything else out. For this portion of the arc in the fight, we get Guts' inner thoughts and perspective. He is snapped out of it when he sees Jill is in danger, but blacks everything out and decides to use Jill as an advantage to put an end to Rosine. His murderous urges take hold, and for this moment, he blacks it all out, closing the space between demon and man. Jill, overwhelmed by the situation, breaks down.
But he doesn't black it all out because he's still got one eye open.
To face the crushing weight that she knew the truth all along to and didn't want to accept. She was so desperate to find the answer she wanted, whether it was in Guts or Rosine, an escape, but now she sits doomed surrounded by the fires. Rosine shows up once again trying to offer a way out, and Guts, hiding in the flames, shoots and splits Rosine open, pushing Jill into the flames. But despite using Jill as bait for a moment, he still has humanity somewhere in that blacked out form, kicking open a cocoon to stop Jill from catching fire, but it also results in a corpse opening on the poor girl, and when Puck goes to check on her, Jill has a crazed smile. The vile imagery she has been exposed to, along with the weight of it all, mentally and emotionally overwhelms her. I'm not going to delve into Guts and the Beast of Darkness, since that would entail more of a conviction arc as a whole, and it's something I've talked about many times in different videos, but this is the portion of the story that really shows Guts becoming something darker than what we saw in Black Swordsman and Golden Age. The fight is taken back up to the sky, and in the next chapter, we get a glimpse into Rosine's backstory, the scene that humanizes her character. For a moment, we see her finding the Misty Valley and freely running through the grass as if she was flying. In the present, she tries to end it, but her attempt proves useless as we get the most iconic shot of this arc, and one of the most iconic in the entire series. Rosine now with a face of terror as she looks at a monster she can't kill, and a slice through the collarbone sending them both crashing down to the earth. In her final moments, we see the full Rosine backstory. The elves weren't there. She waited for days and they never showed up. She never really did believe in them. She was just hoping for an escape, the one she would then create for herself and for Jill. Her parents arrive, and although her mother embraces her in concern, her father lashes out in anger and beats Rosine. The mother tries to intervene, but is met with the same fist. Years of abuse and rejection, of pain and sorrow, and now there were no elves. No place she could escape to and leave all of that misery behind. I think in this sense, the reason she was so obsessed with Jill was not only because it was her old-time friend, but because I think Rosine saw a lot of her past self in Jill, the past self that was searching for an escape that wasn't there. In despair, she wishes for it all to go away, and the Beylet is activated. In the present, she asks her mother and even her father to forgive her, and crashing to the earth, she is now once again in her more human form. I believe Mira was very intentional with what he did visually, given the timing of the backstory as well, in contrast with what he has done with Guts visually as the fight grows more intense, but even after it's over, as he stated in the interview. He has made us sympathetic to Rosine, showing that she was once in a position where Jill was just moments ago, and was simply a little girl wanting to escape a cruel world and run away through a fairy tale. He has taken this monster and made her very vulnerable, very human, while taking the good guy of our story, the human, and making him seem like a monster. And not in a cliche way, but in a way that actually impacts. And there is a big difference in humanizing a villain and allowing us, the reader, to understand their actions from their perspective, making us question if we would make the same choice if given the power to choose. A question brought up in the previous arc with Griffith. I think that is very different from absolving the character from their wrongs. But the key difference here is, with Griffith's punishment, while excessive in many ways, a lot of it was his own fault, and he had already done many morally reprehensible things beforehand. But with Rosine, before sacrificing
Oh my god, that was the Charlotte thing.
her parents and what she would do as an apostle, what was her fault? The same as Jill. Nothing. Simply children living in a dark and cruel world, destined to live in it the rest of their lives. Even after the horrors this bitch was responsible for, I'm amazed at how I still felt immense sadness, and when she laments there not being any elves in the first place, and then is reminded of Puck as Jill with teary eyes show her elves were real all along, and Puck even says they once did live in this misty valley. Only for the chapter to end with the good guy of our story emerging from the waters he fell in like a demon hell-bent on murder. Chapter 116, Rosine states that even the good guy of Tomato felt immense
phased out for a second. I also see Tipsy said something. I like that art thingy where it shows the different perspectives of what the person watches and sees. I don't know if anybody reads Hana Hana, but Tagashi does that a lot with the mixed styles. The scene is cute with her running. Yes.
sadness, and when she laments there not being any elves in the first place, and then is reminded of Puck as Jill with teary eyes show her elves were real all along, and Puck even says they once did live in this misty valley. Only for the chapter to end with the good guy of our story emerging from the waters he fell in like a demon hell-bent on murder. Chapter 116, Rosine states that even with the bad stuff, Jill will be alright, and from her peaceful expression it transitions to Guts, consumed by his hatred and bloodlust, ready to finish the job for good. Jill begs Guts to stop, but it falls on deaf ears, and even when Jill covers Rosine, it seems Guts was going to follow through, even if it meant finally harming Jill himself. This moment, Miura flipped the script and made the good guy seem like he was about to become the irredeemable demon. But before he can follow through, he is shot by Jill's father, who had found them with the Holy Sea Knights, and Guts runs off into the darkness. Meanwhile, Rosine flies off, hallucinating that she has a way back home, that she can return to her parents. As she comes crashing down in her moment of death, once again the fairy tale's ending is quoted. On top of a small hill between the village, where he no longer knew a single person, and the elf forest, where no human was allowed to live, Peacock the outcast cried and cried, his red eyes swollen even redder. There's nothing good that comes from trying to abandon reality. One's life, no matter how bad it might be, we cannot escape from it like magic. In real life, this doesn't present itself in the form of a Beylet, but we all have things that we use to escape the day-to-day for a moment, which is fine, but at some point we have to come back to the real world that exists. We cannot try to escape the truth forever, because the consequences are far too steep. Jill now knows that running away with Rosine is not an option. That kind of fairy tale doesn't exist. For humans, it is either suffer as a human or lose your humanity. Perhaps she can still leave her village behind at least, find some other place. Chapter 117, she says that she refuses to leave things the way they are. After all of that she had gone through, surely there is something other than returning home to that cruel place where she is forced to feel fear and struggle every day in a life she can't change. Catching up to Guts, she points out how he saved her. She knows Guts isn't the monster she saw moments ago and begs him to take her somewhere that isn't here. She doesn't care. Here we get the ugly truth Guts represent at its fullest. The sword is no longer held back. Look. Take a good look around us. A good hard look at the shadows.
It's dramatic.
At the darkness around me. You said somewhere that's not here. This is that somewhere. The verge of our world. This place is adrift where the dead cling to the living, drowning in jealousy and yearning. A garbage heap of losers. You said you don't care where. Well, what you see is what you get. This is your paradise. The spirits cling on to Jill and Guts swipes them away. The weight of the truth once again is too much for Jill as she collapses and begins to cry. And Guts, protecting her, says one of his most important lines, something he had to learn the hard way through experience. There's no paradise for you to escape to. What you'll find, what's there, is just a battlefield. He leaves, and as he fades away, he tells her to go home, to go back to her battlefield. The final part of this chapter and arc, we get Jill's response to all that she has been through, now faced with the truth she can't deny, and she has seen it all for herself. This portion shows how Berserk uses its violence to inspire, and contrasts a bleak and dark setting with the beauty of its messages. He disappeared into the darkness. In the end, I still don't know who he was. Just like when he appeared, he took the demons with him. I was the only one left behind. I still don't know what these past days of fear, sadness, and shock were to me. The mist cleared away. The mist that would never go away was pushed out by the flames. The clear sky now peeks through. But it's by no means a spectacle that makes my heart leap, like when I flew in the sky with Rosine. It's savage, lonely, cold, but such a vivid sky. It's a clear sky like the kind after a storm blows through. I don't have wings, so I guess I'll look up at this sky and crawl along the earth. Maybe the fluid from the cocoon he doused me with mixed with Rosine's blood washed away my childhood. Jill now no longer sees the future as a grim thing she cannot change, hopeless or something to run away from. As the mist she thought would last her whole life was blown away by the fire Guts caused, so too shall the bad moments pass. Pug asks if she will be okay, and here we get Jill's answer to the ugly dark truth that Guts represents, that now doesn't seem as ugly and dark. I guess I don't think I can be violent like the swordsman after all, and I guess I really don't have the courage to run away like Rosine did, but at least I think I'll try crying and shouting and biting my way through. Maybe I can change something. She asks Pug why he travels with Guts, and then remarks how elves look best in the blue sky. She can't run away, and she can't depend on someone else to fight her battles for her, or participate in their battlefield relying on their strength. The answer is for her to face life head-on in her own way, struggle, contend, and endure. In a tiny village nestled in a ravine, difficult to see even from the air, I think I'm about to start my own tiny battle. This is the fairy tale for adults that Guts was referring to, a gruesome one, where all that exists is a battlefield we are forced to live with, but one that in our own ways we can survive and overcome time and time again. An arc full of some of the most horrifying and disturbing imagery I've ever seen, but with some of the most essential lessons for how to go about living, with a more optimistic approach than the one we entered with. Each of these characters, and each of us, are lost children trying to find our way in this grand battlefield we will be in until the day we die. So how did Miro follow up his best? It was by setting the bar once again, but in a different way, with another masterpiece. Rest in peace, the great Kentaro Miura.
He's got a Patreons. I wonder how much you have to pay to get your name there, chat. Quite a bit, I'd imagine. See, I told you he made a good video. It was crazy. Miller's not here for me to gloat about it, though. What a prick. Oh my god, we're not going to get through that other video, are we? Let's see if it's interesting enough to keep for even the next stream. Now we need the fucking URL. We'll give that video a good. What do the comments have to say about this one? I just really... Oh, yeah, we read some of these. There is no paradise. Yes, yes, yes. Asked when she awakened from her trance by the broken egg and Guts shows up. It's a parallel. Guts was born from a corpse. It makes her fetus curse. They're similar. To me, something Miro mastered. He picks up these events and metaphors. Nuts from Berserk is my inspiration. A favorite quote of mine is, I'm going Berserk. Oh, okay, it was a meme. Lost Children is the arc most underrated arc in Melody Rivers, alongside from that one, to Bleed in that one, and then Greed Island, and then Baratia in One Piece, and others. Shut up, loser.
I mean, if you guys need any more convincing, Ganishka became so powerful that he would go on to lose his fucking mind like Randy Quaid. But if we're going to talk about Ganishka's base form, it does have a couple weaknesses. I mean, Guts was still able to harm him on both a physical and astral plane. Also, side note, is this not one of the best fucking manga panels you've ever seen before? But I digress. And
yeah,
if we're going to talk about the Shiva form,
Guts,
well, I'll just be honest right now.
Electricity.
Ganishka became so powerful that he would go on to lose his...
All this for Ava, to be clear. JK, good video, though. All this for Ava, to be clear. Ava. I don't know.
Fucking mind like Randy Quaid. But if we're going to talk about Ganishka's base form, it does have a couple weaknesses. I mean, Guts was still able to harm him on both a physical and astral plane. Also, side note, is this not one of the best fucking manga panels you've ever seen before? But I digress. And if we're going to talk about the Shiva form, well, I'll just be honest right now, there is no other apostle on this tier list that's going to come close to that. Additionally, this form also created pseudo-apostles as well, so that's just a flex on top of everything else. Now, even when Ganishka is cut in half, the amount of power that was welling up inside of him is enough to span across the entire Berserk world and merge both the physical and astral planes together. Yeah, so as far as apostles are concerned, guys, Ganishka has no other spot than the unlimited power tier. It is definitely deserved. He is by far the strongest apostle we're probably going to see today. All right, so moving on, now we have...
Well, he kind of spoiled the fucking thing.
Alright, so we have the Slug Apostle, not to be mistaken with the almighty Snail Apostle, okay? Don't get it twisted. So the Slug Apostle, we really don't know shit about this guy, and from what I would guess, I mean, he's gonna be pretty weak. If anything, it just raises more questions about if apostles get any say in what they look like. Because if so, can you imagine sacrificing your friends and family just to look like fucking Escargoon here? Like, that's ridiculous. I'm gonna put him in Weenie Hut Jr. tier. Absolutely weak. I don't think he can do anything. He probably gets stomped by most people in this tier. Okay, so moving on, we have Wild. You guys ready to get wild, right? Get it? Because his name's Wild? Okay, I'll shut the fuck up.
Now, this is kind of an interesting one. Because it's probably stronger than the Snake Baron. But Zod does beat him up at the end. He's kind of comparable to Zod, though, I would say. The Dragon could probably beat Wild. I don't know about this guy because he's got sneaky tactics. Could Rosine beat Wild? I mean, she can fly, and she's got that big thingy that she stabbed Guts with. No, no, no. Mozgus would be an interesting one. Mozgus probably has to be stronger than Wild, right? Because Guts had more trouble beating him. Could Irvine's got distance. Locust has distance too. Oh my god, is this guy and this guy different people? There's no way. The Count? The Count and Wild are probably equivalent, huh?
Wild is hedonism personified and strength incarnate. If we're going to be talking about this chronologically, Wild is the first apostle that Guts officially beats, right? Even though Zod kills him, Guts still won that fight. But it took Guts everything he had to beat Wild. And it was for good reason, because Wild was insanely strong. In his base form alone, Wild was able to block Guts' sword with nothing but his teeth. And when he transforms into his full apostle form, he grows a couple stories tall and easily puts on 1,000 pounds of muscle. In this new form, Wild becomes even more agile. He's able to move extremely fast, jump to new heights, and of course, bulldoze through almost anything in his pathway. And keep in mind that Wild is performing all of these feats despite the fact that Guts had already cut off his dick and stabbed him a bunch of times. So all in all, I mean, Wild strength, he's not to be fucked with. He's a big boy. But with this said, I would not put him in the strong apostle tier list. That might be a hot pick for some of you guys. But the fact still stands that Guts beat this guy during the Golden Age arc, alright? So just imagine if Black Swordsman Guts was fighting Wild with a Rage Amp, the cannon...
I mean, it was Guts and a whole lot of other people.
And all of his other artillery. Wild would be fucked, alright? And there are other apostles on this tier list that hold up much better when compared to Wild. Pretty much, Wild underestimated Guts the majority of the fight too. So I'm not going to really put him anywhere above healthcare tier. And looking at this too, Snake Baron, you fucked up, man. You know what? I fucked up putting you here. The Snake Baron is about as average and mid of an apostle as you could probably get. So, yeah, man, I'm gonna move you down here.
That's probably...
Okay, so now we have this unnamed apostle here, and I only put him on the tier list because he killed my boy Judo, so I had to talk about him a little bit.
That thing did kill Judo.
But this guy really used kind of like a long-range attack, using his tentacles as a whip to pretty much slash and stab his opponents. I would say, I mean, they took him down pretty easily. Casca was able to pretty much one-shot him with a good stab wound. Judo was able to use a couple throwing knives as well. But if that's all it takes to kill an apostle, let's be real, you're going to be in the weaker end of things. So because all it took was really one good slash to bring it down, I'm definitely going to put him in Weenie Hut Jr. territory. So yeah, I think he's going to stay there. All right, so now we are moving into the roaming apostle. At least that's his alleged name.
Is it really weaker than the titty one?
Since we don't have a real name for him, I'm just going to call him Harvey Weinstein because, I think the likeness is pretty uncanny. But with this said, I mean, Harvey here was pretty much able to track down Guts. So he had a good sense of smell. And also when Guts slashed open Harvey Weinstein, he was actually able to control his innards and able to kind of, use them as a weapon against Guts. And he was even able to actually kind of like take a little bit of cannon fire from Guts too. But ultimately, one slash from the Dragon Slayer killed Harvey Weinstein. So, Harvey is probably going to go above the female big titty monster here and below the Snake Baron. So I'm going to put him about average would be a good spot. All right, so now we're moving on to the Frog Apostle.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Yeah, so the Frog Apostle. We don't know much about this character. In fact, I take it back. We know nothing about this character. I think he appears in like one manga panel and then never shows up again. However, the Frog Apostle stole my heart, guys, okay? So I had to put him in the tier list. But what we do know is that Real Life Ryan made a video stating that he could make the Frog Apostle croak. Get it? Croak? Like die? Okay, I'll stop. But in all seriousness, unless the Frog Apostle has some crazy poison ability or something like that, I think he's going to be losing to most other apostles on this tier list. So I'm going to have to put him squarely in Weenie Hut Jr. territory. So now we got Grunbeld, and Grunbeld is a monster, an absolute Goliath of an apostle. He towers over characters like Zod, who is a beast in his own right, let's be real. So to start off, I'm just going to say right away, Grunbeld is probably stronger than most of the apostles in this tier list. He has supernatural strength and speed, he's able to pretty much kill multiple Kushan soldiers with a single swing of his hammer, he has insane durability, which it's even stated in the Berserk wiki that his skin is stronger than steel. Yeah, so as if all of that wasn't enough, Grunbeld also carries Thor's hammer, he has a shield that doubles over as a cannon, and to top it all off, he can breathe fire. I would say Grunbeld's biggest flaw was turning into a dragon and fighting against the guy who literally uses the weapon called the Dragon Slayer. Probably you could see where that fight was headed. Yeah, so overall guys, I think Grunbeld is really...
Oh my god, is Guts not going to kill the cool dragon from the one panel in the Fantasia thing, but he's going to kill Grumbeld and be the Dragon Slayer? How have I never thought about that once in my stupid fucking life?
Guy who literally uses the weapon called the Dragon Slayer. Probably you could see where that fight was headed. Yeah, so overall, guys, I think Grunbeld is really freaking strong, obviously. When you have an OP dragon transformation, you're probably going to be clapping the ass of most of the people on this tier list. I would say Grunbeld would fare pretty well and beat most of the apostles here, except for maybe one. And that one apostle is none other than Nosferatu Zod. Zod the Immortal, the pinnacle of strength. When you think of apostles, Zod is normally the first...
he's not going to put Zod beneath the dumb dragon.
And it's for good reason, because Zod is an absolute badass, the Giga Chad of all apostles. I mean, you even have notable apostles like Locust and Grunbeld, who are pretty much just giving Zod a handjob by telling him how strong he is. Even Grunbeld makes a comment about Zod's strength, stating that he can best a force 1,000 strong. Essentially, every time Zod is mentioned, it's done so with a reverence and respect, talking about how his power is beyond this realm and like in another dimension. Yeah, so Zod has a variety of skills and an array of talents, one of which being his swordsmanship and tactics. He can pretty much handle any weapon that he finds on the battlefield. He can dual wield swords and axes with ease. Zod is also capable of shifting his battle strategy. I mean, he can adopt new fighting tactics on the fly, which is what he's done with Guts numerous times when they've encountered each other.
Okay, I can't watch this whole fucking video on the stream because we only got 8% of the battery left. I think I'll probably watch the rest of this one off stream, right, chat? We don't really care about this fucking shit. It's actually not that interesting. I think maybe next stream we'll do a fucking shitty Attack on Titan react ones because there's a few videos here that are Attack on Titan. Oh, and there's also these Berserk ones. I think I'll watch those off stream if I watch them at all. Though they are short. Then there's that Chainsaw Man one too. Anyway, anyhow. How long did we go? Did we go for an hour? Nearly an hour. Hey, that's not how I type correctly. Yeah, we'll see. I might be playing a video game now. Isn't that fun? The Last of Us. It should be downloaded by now. But with that being said, everybody get out of here. Go do something fun or productive. Or don't. Or I don't fucking know. I don't know you people. Tipsy was here. We like that. I don't know if we'll do streaming hours like this again. I kind of want to do a consistent streaming hour thing. I also want to make the VODs channel on YouTube. So I don't know. We're in the process of figuring some things out. Anywho, get the fuck out of here. Hey, fuck you.